Well, lifting weights could do more than just build muscle. It can help save a woman's life. Study released last month showed by adding 2 hours of strength training a week, reduced the risk of heart disease by 20%. We're joined by Dr. Kevin Curran. He is a cardiologist at St. David's Heart Hospital of Austin. He's here to break down this study for us. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
All right, what did researchers find here?
Yeah, so it's an interesting study looking at about 117,000 patients. These were all actually female patients who were nurses, and looking at the association between reducing sedentary lifestyle habits, but also incorporating cardiovascular exercise and specifically strength training, and determining was there a reduction in cardiovascular events or not. And they saw a meaningful reduction in cardiovascular events.
Yeah, 20%. What is your reaction to that number? Is that high?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say it's important to kind of put things into context. You know, these were patients who've never had a history of cardiovascular events, never had heart stents, heart surgery, specifically bypass surgery. And they actually excluded patients with a history of chronic medical conditions like cancer. That being said, it was astonishing to see the degree of reduction in cardiovascular events in this generally healthy population.
Right. Well, the study found the strongest benefit was specifically for heart attacks and not stroke. So, doctor, why might resistance training help one but not the other?
Well, there are actually some varied factors that may affect people's risk of stroke that may not be necessarily in the same cardiometabolic factors that lead to heart attacks. So with stroke, there are a lot of additional factors that go beyond the standard risk factors for heart attack, like smoking, blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. And so they are, while they're very similar cardiovascular diseases, they are actually distinct as well.
I see. All right, so this wasn't just about strength training. You mentioned strength training plus cardio. So what did researchers find when those two were combined?
Yeah, so really in addition to strength training, at least doing even an hour a week, so 2 30-minute sessions, then also doing cardiovascular exercise about 35 minutes a day, incorporating both of those with a reduction in sedentary habits, specifically not watching television by more than 2 hours a day, actually meaningfully reduced people's risk of cardiovascular events also. And then when you additionally added more strength training, about an hour additionally, you could actually meaningfully reduce people's risk of cardiovascular events by 5% also.
Oh, wow. So even as little as an hour of strength training, even though the recommendation is 2 hours. All right, so for someone watching and they want to get started, what's a good starting point? They've never done anything before.
Yeah, I would say starting with a walking program, certainly. You know, before you start a dedicated exercise program, always talking to your physician about, does a reasonable exercise program make sense for me? Certainly if you have chronic medical conditions that may increase your risk of a major problem with exercise, we want to make sure that it's safe for you to exercise first. But starting with a walking program, then gently escalating the degree of exertional activity that you do is generally safe. And of course, if you have questions, talking about things with your physician, potentially referring to a cardiologist may make sense.
Yeah, okay. And then start with light weights, right? Like
Absolutely.
Work your way up.
Yeah, wouldn't start with powerlifting, wouldn't do some
50-pounders immediately?
Well, and I would say this, you know, even light levels of exertional activity, cardiovascular exercise and strength training are meaningfully helpful. You know, if you're trying to reduce your risk of a heart attack, certainly exercising is better than not exercising.
That's words of wisdom, Dr.
Right.
Curran. All right, one thing for viewers to take away. You want them to do one thing. What is that one thing?
I'd say, you know, doing the things that you know to be true, where it's eating healthy, exercising routinely, hydrating well, focusing on your sleep.
That's more than one thing, Dr. Curran.
Well, I would say this is conventional wisdom that you don't necessarily have to see a cardiologist to hear. You know, the things that are tried and true, they still hold true to this day. You know, additional research like this is helpful to remind people that exercise is important, but so is making sure that you're attending your routine visits with your physician and getting good medical advice.
Yeah, take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Dr. Kevin Curran, we appreciate your advice.